Hey everyone, welcome back to KazuyaKam Productions. Before we start our review on Detective Pikachu,
got some news!
Yeah, we would like to make an announcement.
We are going to do a little bit of a brand change. So realized GameBreakers kind of limited our scope since we don't really do games all the time now, and especially since we had so much fun doing that movie review for the Avengers, figured we should change it. So, without further ado, our new name is
Samuari Reviews.
Blip, blip. That's right. So from now on, we will be Samurai Reviews, and we'll still do games, and we'll still do movies. Just the gaming season is a bit slow right now, and the movie season's kind of hopping, so we thought we'd be focusing more on that.
In this video, we'll cover a non-spoiler review, followed by a spoiler review, so we can just tackle all just the reviews at once. We will warn you beforehand when we do get into that spoiler part of the review.
And we will make it obvious. So don't worry, we're not going to sneak it in on you.
Very obvious.
Yes, I get naked and everything. As we mentioned, Detective Pikachu. Just saw it. We're going to give you some of our thoughts. We'll start with our rating, and then we're going to tell you kind of why or what elements of the movie that kind of justify that. I'll start since yours is more critical. I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was really well done. CGI was really good, but the story and in some cases the line delivery, some cases the line writing just felt lazy. And just overall in general, I'm gonna give it about a 5.5 out of 10. But I did enjoy this movie. So that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. It's a slightly above average movie for me.
My rating for this movie is a 4 out of a 10. It was just below average of a movie for me. It just didn't quite work.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. Let's go over the kind of non-spoiler review of this movie.
Yes. Really,
really lazy exposition. And in the spoiler review, we'll go over specific examples of this because there are some obvious ones. They had an idea and they didn't really know how to transition to that idea. It just felt like they wanted to go somewhere, so they just wrote their way to it instead of creatively thinking of a unique story in which they get there. The transition to it wasn't smooth, and that's kind of a thing we see throughout the movie, where the transitions of it is just not. It just seems like they wanted to get somewhere, so they did it. Then you get to see the different characters. Very cliche and cookie cutter characters.
Just not convincing. There was no motivation. There was no arc for most of the characters besides the main character. No character growth, even if there was for the main character. It was just...
It wasn't explained.
It wasn't explained, wasn't believable.
Yeah.
The direction within this whole movie, I don't know how to describe it.
It seemed like he wasn't even there.
Yeah.
Like, it just seemed like these actors got together and did it themselves.
No direction.
Ryan Reynolds' lines were the only thing that made this movie unique.
Yes.
Like, his like riffs or takes were what made this movie somewhat bearable.
Yeah.
And probably for me, what made it above the 5 for me, honestly. Without him, I would probably be on your city.
The Pokemons were amazing visually.
And we can't say that enough. Like, it really is... Like, just go see it for the visuals alone.
The city, like going through within the city, even when they're out going, through like the nature and like the wild and that kind of stuff, that was also pretty outstanding too visually. Like Brett said, mentioning with like Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu, gave it a 4. Anything else was just bad.
So there are times in the movie where the graphics are great. It's unique. Every Pokemon kind of has their own like different like movement to it. The texture to it is unique. It's really, really cool, and it fits with the Pokemon lore, with the Pokemon movie. But there are times when it's like you have this like one shot down a street, and there's like a bunch of different Pokemon, and there's like some of the same ones. And I noticed it once in the movie, and I'd be interested to see it again just to see how many times I could see it happen. But there were 2 Greninjas just standing in the street with their partners. They both kind of did like this motion. And they both did it at the exact same time, in the exact same way, in the exact same positioning in terms of where the camera was. And that just feels lazy to me. It's just like the little things they could have fixed that they just chose not to, or it didn't seem like they had time to. These I'm not nitpicking because these Greninjas were like 5 feet away from each other. They were pretty close. It wasn't like there was one in the corner and then one on a building way off in the distance. They were like right next to each other, and they both did.
Kind of going more into depth with the story, it was very predictable. They definitely led you on to think it was one thing, but you knew,
but not convincingly.
You knew that wasn't the villain, or that wasn't. It was, you just knew what was going to happen. The whole movie was definitely rushed. Story, acting, delivery with like the lines, the style, even in the story, just changes like midway through, and it just kind of just leaves you with with this tone and style that they like created in the beginning of the film.
Yeah, they make it really noir-y, and then it's like and then they make it their own thing, and which I liked their own thing more than I liked the noir film type thing they did in the beginning.
Yeah. It doesn't tie up loose ends. It just drops a lot of it. Sub characters. There's no ins and outs within the characters. There was no payoffs in this movie. You don't care too much of the characters in the story. No. Lots of its logics in there were very overlooked, and the details were not kind of thought over in writing. We kind of both thought it was definitely worth watching. I'm on that kind of line where it's like, it's 50-50 for me, where was it really worth my time?
Definitely if you're a Pokemon fan.
Yeah.
If you like Pokemon, like no doubt, 100%, go see it. It's fun. And that's kind of the thing I want to stress that extra, so we're not just trashing on this movie. The reason we're trashing on this movie is because we did have a good time watching it. And at times there was some really, like the battling, the Pokemon battles, they do that way too little. Because the times when they do it are hella exciting.
Yeah.
I had a really fun time watching them.
Like that Godzilla movie that came back, like we had no Godzilla and it just followed like the characters. This Pikachu movie did a little bit better job of actually showing a little bit more of the Pokemon's battles and that kind of stuff, which was good. We would have loved to see more.
Potential is there. There is definitely a future in Pokemon movies. Just kind of summarizing it, if you like Pokemon, go see it. If you're on the fence, go see it. It's fun. I think it's worth your time. He thinks it might be. Entertainment value is there.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. Spoiler time.
Spoilers!
Try and keep up, Josh, when you're editing. Just edit all of this.
No, but this story was pretty lazy. They definitely just click that Bruno,
excellent segue.
That Bruno Mars.
Segue level 100. Okay.
They definitely just stuck that Bruno Mars, the lazy song on, and just like wrote out that script, man.
So spoiler time. We're going to go through the specific details of the movie, specific events, kind of the same way we did last time with Avengers. We're going to talk about what we liked, what we didn't like, things like that.
Yep.
So, without further ado, we're going to start off with what I was talking about earlier, the exposition and the beginning. Good Lord. It's rough. Like, okay, so there's a specific scene. He's walking with his friend, and he's in the middle of town. Like, the center of their town. Like, there's a bunch of businesses, and there's, like, a bunch of, like,
local
places around for them to go to.
Downtown.
He's in the middle of town. It's not like he's on the edge of town. Middle of town walking with his friend, and he goes, "Oh, I have phone service now." Like, when did we ever know that he didn't have phone service? First of all. And second of all, why would I ever assume that? And so he's like, "Oh, I have phone service now." Oh, I have 5 messages. Oh, they're from the police department. I have 5 messages from the police department, and I'm only seeing it now because of the phone service. Remember that when I said that. So I should really listen to what they say. It must be important. And he's saying this all to his friend, but it's clearly for the like people in the audience that are like, "Wait, he didn't say he had phone service. Wait, who's the messages?" Like, they're just like feeding people. Like, 2-year-olds can follow this. So he gets the message and he listens to one, and he's like, "My dad, he's dead," or like he has to go to Rhyme City, something like that. And then on his way to Rhyme City, he's on this like bullet train, and they have the most cliche thing I can think of, where he's sitting on a train watching like the screen, like the TV on it, and it's like, back when Rhyme City was created. Because, when you ride into a city on an airport, in an airplane, or on a bus, What do you want?
Jonathan,
stop playing around. We need to work. Like when you ride into a city on an airplane or a bus, you know, when the screen's like, Atlanta was created by P. Sherman Wallaby Way, Sydney in 1975. All the houses were built by General Custer.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, like no one does that. It's so exposition, and it like is trying to set up the characters, the villainous characters. It's like a father and son that kind of, I don't actually know what they do. Did they run the city? It's a city. You can't like own a city, but that's what it seemed like to me. So even with their like lazy exposition, I didn't really learn anything. I was just like, okay, they're characters. That's kind of what they told me.
Yeah, that's why it was lazy exposition. We don't learn anything at all.
Yeah,
No character depth. You get introduced with this main character, right, Tim, and I just don't get it. Like he's just like, oh, I don't want a Pokemon, but everybody else has a Pokemon.
The whole beginning of the movie, they stressed that the entire time.
Yeah,
they didn't explain that the whole movie.
Yeah,
he just eventually was like, yeah, Pokemon are cool.
Just a lot of the things that are mentioned in the movie and stuff like were just dropped,
or they like wanted cheap distractions.
They didn't go back to it. There's no mention. There's no payoffs.
Yeah, so before he meets Pikachu, or the whole beginning of the relationship, he's like, I don't want a Pokemon. I don't like Pokemon. And then like you said, he just all of a sudden is like, Pokemon are cool. Like, and there's no growth to explain why that happened. Mm-hmm. It's just, and there's no reasoning for him not liking them in the beginning.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be something to do with his dad, or like, a Pokemon killed my mother, like something like that.
Yeah,
but there wasn't even that cliche. Yeah. Like it was just
very cliche of like the mother dying, the dad dives into work and kind of just like throws his kid off and goes and lives with his grandmother, like an orphan, like an orphan child.
His grandmother's looking great for her age, by the way.
Oh. Let's get into the reporter character.
Nothing against the actress, by the way. I don't think any of this was her fault.
Like we said, the direction within the movie, I don't know what the directors were doing.
Yeah.
Or if they knew like how to direct actors.
It was,
like most good directors do. Mm-hmm. They're just all like, okay, let's just wrap this up. Super in a rush or something.
Just say the thing. It's fine. I know it doesn't make sense. Just say it.
Okay.
It's so frustrating because it felt like she was just put in there for like to have a cliche love interest.
Oh yeah.
For the main character, and the love interest wasn't like he just thought she was pretty. Like it wasn't like. He wasn't attracted to her in any way other than, and he says it multiple times. He's like, I just think she's pretty. Like,
there's no payoff as well in the end too,
which makes the main character less likable.
Yeah.
Another thing that was kind of weird in the movie was the media security. It's they're kind of recording this kind of like promo for their parade that they're gonna throw, which is the big bad guy plan in the end. But it's this big parade they're gonna throw, and they're kind of like getting the crowd excited for it, or the city excited for it. And Tim and Pikachu go to that setting to try and meet up with Lucy, and they just walk in. They just walk right into the studio as they're recording with the two most popular people in the city, like the creators of this city.
Yeah.
And they just kind of walk on in and say like, and they're within like 10 feet of them. How's that not? How do they get in? They don't have any passes. They don't have. And they just start eating at the table with the like food for the cast and stuff. And it's just so weird.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can't just walk into any film or, news studio.
Walk onto like Avengers set like, oh hey Chris Evans, how you doing? Just gonna these tacos right here.
Most of the logic within this movie just did not make sense. Mm-mm. Walking into the studio, surviving car crashes, jumping off cliffs.
There would be threat to life if there was consistency.
Hanging off a building.
Yeah.
Falling off buildings.
And because of that, there's no suspense.
No suspense. So it's just not life threatening enough.
Because they're gonna just write their way out of it. Like because they did it throughout the movie. Actually, before he goes to the media, we have to talk about when he meets Pikachu. Right? Mm-hmm. He gets exposed to the Serum R, which is kind of the big concept of the movie, the big mystery part, I guess. But yeah, it's a serum, and he opens it up, and it like gasses him, and then gasses these Apoms that kind of go crazy on him later. But like after the whole Apom incident, he says like the gas is why, or they surmise that the gas is why he can talk to Pikachu, which it isn't, and they don't clear that up ever again in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like they specifically say like, you must be able to talk to me because of the gas. And then that's it. And so that's kind of how they explain it off. And then at the end, you find out it's not, like, it's because Pikachu is his dad, and he has that connection, I guess, makes him able to understand him. Because if you share blood, then you can talk to them if they're in a Pokemon. It just doesn't make sense why he could talk to him. And they write it off, and they tell you one thing that's definitely not the reason, as the reason, and then never explain that it wasn't the reason. It's too convoluted of an idea, and it just doesn't flow with the story. It doesn't make any sense why they put it in there. One of the positives, though, is you get, after this whole kind of interaction with Detective Pikachu and Tim, they go to the Pokemon Underground fighting place, which is actually really fun.
One of the best scenes.
Yeah, one of the best parts of the movie, because you actually get to see a Pokemon battle.
Which is dope.
It is dope. It's sick. You got like Gengar and Blastoise are squaring off, and Gengar like multiplies, and then Blastoise does like a little rapid spin, shooting out some little water bullets, and takes them all out, and they like poof 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 poof, and it's so fun, but it's short lived.
Yeah,
it doesn't last long.
We don't get to see who's the winner is, but
it says it. Yeah,
we are told that
you don't get to see how he won. And there was like even that kind of short scene during the expositional train ride, where they showed the kind of Coliseum. And then these two trainers like coming out with Pokeballs, and like Red came out and like threw a ball at like this one trainer with like an Arcanine and a Gyarados, and I was like, that is sick. It's like the Super Bowl with Pokemon. Like I want to see that. But yeah, so you get these little clippets where you're like, okay, this has potential. But I will say they did a great job with the parts that they show you. Also, a little tip for you Pokemon players out there: if you catch a Magikarp,
what happens?
Well, I know you want a Gyarados. Is that what you're trying to? You really want a Gyarados, right?
Yeah, eventually. In Pokemon Go, it takes forever for me to get a Gyarados.
You have to get like 400 candies, and it's like one of the most powerful Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
So you really want a Gyarados. You don't have to get any of the candies anymore, guys. What? All you have to do is just take your Magikarp on your phone, just kick it.
Okay.
Because of the movie, Pikachu is like in a battle with Charizard, which is also a pretty cool scene.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets a little chaotic because of the Serum R that was introduced. And basically, to get out of it, Pikachu kicks a Magikarp because they turn into a Gyarados and all they need is a little kick. So he literally kicks the Magikarp and then it turns into a Gyarados. There's another example of them just like riding their way out of situations that they've ridden themselves into. Yeah, so after this, he kind of officially teams up with the reporter girl. Yeah, well, she like starts it out like she does the whole like, don't look at me, and she tries to like sit like behind him and have this weird conversation, and then that just doesn't work because he's too awkward to do it, and so they just sit next to each other anyways, which I guess they're trying to go for a cheap gag, but like that was the moment she lost the whole noir thing to her character, and she just became like basic anchor lady. She just kind of loses her whole kind of edge, which I didn't like to begin with anyways. But yeah, that's the moment where you're seeing like, okay, like wait, I thought I had a peg on this character and I don't, but not in a good way. Like in a bad way where you're like, okay, well now I just don't know what to think. But basically they team up and they go to the secret base where they were holding Mewtwo in the beginning of the movie, after he escaped, so it's kind of like trashed. Some Torterras and some Greninjas, and the Greninjas do look pretty dope. Mm-hmm. Like I liked their whole like ninja vibe. They did seem a little like nerfed, like kind of like at the end of the Halloween movie when Michael Myers keeps missing his stabs.
We all knew that they were going to escape eventually. Mm-hmm. They do, and they're running through fields, and there's like giant Torterra gardens.
Torterras are like the lion turtles in Avatar. Like they're giant.
And they're like jumping off cliffs, like
with no repercussions.
To survive. And then the only repercussion was this little pebble.
No, there's a big pebble. And
there's a huge pebble.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
But then there's this little pebble
that breaks off
and hits Pikachu.
Yeah.
And Pikachu's about to die.
Yeah. It fought Charizard, got hit with a Hydro Pump from a Gyarados, but that pebble, man. So, and this is the moment where Tim's like actually starts to care about Pikachu, which is kind of nice, I guess, but not really. I don't know why now. This Bulbasaur kind of comes out of the bush.
Cute little guys, by the way.
Except he didn't say Bulbasaur. I wanted to hear Bulbasaur. I didn't hear that. He didn't say Bulbasaur. He was just like, like that's not what Bulbasaur makes. Yeah, so the Bulbasaur comes out, and then he kind of calls back to one of his conversations with Detective Pikachu, where Pikachu's like, Pokemon can feel what you're feeling. Like you might not be able to talk to them. Which I didn't mind that. I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was a kind of cool way that Pokemon can connect with their trainers in this universe. It is kind of like you have to suspend your belief a little bit of suspension of belief is required. And so he kind of like tries to convey to this Bulbasaur that he's like, he wants his Pikachu to be saved. But yeah, so now Tim is like, oh, I gotta follow this herd of Bulbasaur. And he kind of follows them, and then they lead him to this like altar-y area.
Where they sacrifice Pikachu.
Yes, they sacrifice Pikachu, and the Pokemon gods come down. No, but there is definitely an altar though.
There's no sacrifice.
But he definitely puts him on this like altar-y rock thing. And then Mewtwo just shows up. The guy that they're looking for this entire movie. There's
like, even that like music too, like that sound effect. Like Mewtwo shows up where there's like it's like and you're just like, oh.
The entire half of the movie so far has been them looking for Mewtwo because Mewtwo knows where their dad is.
Yeah.
And they just find him like that. Like it seriously felt like the writers just kind of like, oh yeah, they're still looking for Mewtwo. He just shows up and heals Pikachu. So yeah, he kind of heals Pikachu, and he kind of tries to tell him what went down with his dad, but then gets cut short, and then he gets captured before he can finish the Vision. Vision kind of compels Tim to go and talk to Howard, the Rhyme City guy, and Pikachu feels guilty because he thinks that he let Mewtwo out and turned on his partner. They kind of split up.
Yeah.
And Tim goes to talk to the bad guy, and he kind of reveals that he is the bad guy in this process, because he has this like neural inhibitor thing that allows him to put his mind in the body of Mewtwo. And his kind of reasoning for this is that he thinks people, like Pokemon can evolve, and it's time for people to evolve by being Pokemon. Basically, he wants to put people into Pokemon, which I didn't hate that either.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of an interesting villainous take. Yep. And the reason he set up this parade is because he filled the balloons with the serum R thing.
Yeah. Let's explain about that whole thing. This gas serum R apparently just makes the Pokemon not have free will.
That's what they described it as. But that's not what happens.
No,
that's what the scientists said.
They just turn into animals.
Yeah, they go crazy.
Yeah.
That's not.
They just attack.
If they lacked free will, they wouldn't do anything, right?
Apparently, they need that.
They need them to be crazy for Mewtwo to transfer the souls.
Yeah, they need the gas for Mewtwo to transfer the souls. Which
they don't explain why.
Apparently, they didn't really need to do that. Because
he did that.
He already did that with the dad.
Yeah.
Going into Pikachu.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. So that's what they say. They need this gas, and when the Pokemon are in this state, they can transfer the souls. And he does that for a couple times, and then it's undone at the end, just like that. He goes off and does that. And
which also kind of just makes Mewtwo like look super powerful and just almost like a god.
Yeah. Basically. Which he kind of should be.
Yeah. I mean, Mewtwo is like one of the strongest, Pokemons out there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you have Pikachu coming in. Yeah, just 1v1.
He doesn't beat him, but he gets some hits in, and you're kind of like, which like the logic wasn't there, but the scene was cool. So yeah, after the fight, Pikachu kind of distracts Mewtwo, or like fake Mewtwo enough to allow Tim to take off the mental thing that he had to control Mewtwo, and it works. And Mewtwo passes out, and Pikachu and Mewtwo fall, and then Mewtwo saves Pikachu at the last second, obviously, and then restores everyone's souls. Kind of wraps it up really nicely, and then he kind of reveals to Tim. Tim's like, "Where's my dad?" Because he still hasn't figured out it's the Pikachu, even after all this soul swapping, and Mewtwo's like, "He's been with you all along." Yeah, like really cliche line delivery, and I'm like, man, Mewtwo's been watching his movies, and like, and Tim's still like, what do you? Wait, could it be? Like, really struggling with the idea that like everyone's kind of like, yeah, I know what's going on, but Tim doesn't. Finally, he gets it, but like they don't show you that he gets it. They kind of like Pikachu starts glowing, and then like there's a flash, and then it switches to a couple days later where he's at like a train station, and Pikachu comes up, and you hear like, "Hey kid," and it's like Ryan Reynolds' voice, and then like he looks over, and then like there's a foot next to Pikachu that steps in, and it's like Ryan Reynolds, his dad, is the reveal, and you're like, yeah, I know.
In the end, usually like the hero arc of it goes and he becomes like this different person, but it feels like he's like the same person at the end.
I don't know.
I don't know.
That's the thing. This movie is just like, I don't know. It's entertaining, but I'm just like, why? Sometimes. But yeah, that's pretty much the wrap of the movie.
Yeah. For our spoiler part of the review, we'll like to get into something we like to do a little bit and kind of just go into those people on IMDb that rate these movies. We won't really focus on like, you know, just the bad ones. We'll also get into some of the good ones.
All right. I'm gonna get hyped on this bad review anyway, so I might as well just start calling.
IMDb reviews.
So
let's do this.
Let's start off with just the fact that we have, as of right now, things could change, but there are a total of 4 1-star reviews on IMDb.
Just 4? Just 1-star reviews?
Which, I think 1-star reviews are stupid for this movie either way, but just the fact that we found how many for Avengers Endgame?
There was a lot.
There was so many. Yeah, so we'll look at these 1-stars real quick. Let's talk about this one right here. Okay. So
name
Saya Reflex gave it a 1-star, and it's a very short review, and it's straight to the point. The point being racism. Why a black person dough? Wouldn't it based in Japan? You know, the best words. Yeah. Also, it does not say anywhere in it.
I'm Japanese, and I didn't have a problem with like the setting of like what it was and that kind of stuff.
And also like, I've never heard of blackwashing.
Why a black person?
Like,
though
there is whitewashing in Hollywood, but like, because there's a single black person in it, you're gonna get upset? Really? How many movies are there with like a majority black cast? Yeah. I can think of one. It's Black Panther.
Pokemon are created by Japanese. Should the cast be Japanese, not black? Which is funny because they do actually have Watanabe in there. Ken Watanabe. Yeah, I was right. So he's in there. He's Japanese. And he's Japanese in there.
Yeah. And sure, Pokemon is started by Japanese, but there is a very diverse people that work on Pokemon now. Yeah. And I do agree that there should probably be more Japanese people than white people in it. But because there was one black person in there,
we're calling it out. That's very racist.
It just those are the type of people that leave 1-star reviews, by the way. It's the people that are just lost. It's a boring movie. I don't like it. 1 out of 10. No one asked for this film, yet you went to see it.
He even puts in emojis.
He does
in his description, so we all know where
critical thinker, right?
What kind of credibility he has.
So let's move on because that was it for pretty much the 1-stars. Let's move on to a 10 out of 10. So it was Peak Adorable. I really want to give it 15 stars
Peak Adorable
out of 10. It was, yeah, but 15 stars out of 10 is a stretch. Right. Pokemon are adorable, yes. Yeah. Now here's the part why I picked this one out. And the story is not that boring. If you have to say it's not that boring, it's not a 10. The next one is
by who?
Leighton 02966.
Okay. This is seductive.
Gross. Solid. Okay, we talked about this in the Avengers Endgame one. This is not okay. I'm gonna say it every single time. Not okay. So he rates it a 10 out of 10. The subject line is a solid 8.
A solid 8.
Which already you can't then give it an 8. It's not. You're saying it's not a 10, so why'd you rate it a 10? Because you want to skew the result. That's stupid. That's not how the reviews work. It's not all about you. It's not all about what you think the review should be.
Okay.
But that's not even it. It doesn't stop there. He goes, went to watch without any expectations, was entertained throughout, blah, 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 blah. But he gets to this point where he says, all in all, not bad for a live action movie. A good 7.5. Stop changing your ratings, dude.
So is it a 10
an
or
8 or
7.5? I don't know. His name Richard
Bun 30. And I think I have Yeah, so here we go. We got his.
We're
gonna
go
look at what he
into-
likes. So that's a 10 out of 10, right?
Okay. Wait, Detective Pikachu
Detective
is a 10?
Pikachu is an 8
just,
or 7.5. Who knows?
Yeah,
You
okay.
know.
Just trying to clarify.
Anyways, so we're gonna talk about Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's in actually one of my top 5s, like of
Yeah,
Marvel,
it was
like movies.
I think it gets a really bad rap, and I'm tired of people telling me they didn't like it, and when I say why, they go, I just didn't like Captain Marvel. That's not why. I have to say why so many times, and I never get an answer. Just a little sub rant because I'm tired of it. I hear it every day, and I'd never get an explanation. So Captain Marvel has about a 7.1 on IMDb. This man gave it a 3. He thinks Captain Marvel's story wasn't good enough to even be an average movie, but he thought the Detective Pikachu story was good enough to be a 10. All right, so let's see what he rated a good movie, right? You know that Warcraft movie
Oh man.
that dominated the box office here in the U.S.? Oh yeah, 10 out of 10. Solid.
He rated that a 10 out of 10.
Maybe he just really likes any CGI movie. But yeah, so Richard Bunn 30, especially since we just did Avengers Endgame,
Oh
I'm kind
my
of
God.
focusing on this one a little bit.
Manga-th.
Yeah. Gave it a 10 out of 10. Subject line, better than Endgame. Anyways, just straight up outrageous. Let's read into this a little bit, see what they can explain themselves. 'Cause they got some explaining to do. Best video game movie ever made. As someone who grew up watching the Pokemon show on TV, I absolutely adored the movie. You can enjoy it even if you're not familiar with the universe. I would disagree. It has great CGI despite another blockbuster movie currently in theaters. The story is good. People hype up Disney Marvel movies for less, so the complaints about the script aren't allowed.
They thought the writing in this movie was better than Endgame.
There was so much character growth in Endgame. So much.
Plot holes.
Tragedy, even if his statement was correct, where Disney Marvel movies have worse script, he didn't say complaints about the script are wrong and here's why. He said complaints about the script aren't allowed because they're gonna make me think I rated this poorly. They're gonna make me realize I'm a terrible reviewer.
Okay, let's go more into this manga.
Manga-th. Let's see what else they reviewed,
Okay.
because clearly they have some
Let's
good
see his-
opinions.
Wow.
Let's
Okay,
see what
so a
we
lot
got.
going on here. Oh. What? Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. What does that say? What does that say, Brett?
You think it's mediocre? You think it's mediocre movie? I won't show you mediocre, you piece of.
Alright guys, thank you guys for watching, checking us out. I hope you enjoyed this review of Detective Pikachu. Like and subscribe, comment below. This is Samurai Reviews, and yeah, you guys enjoy your day.
You know what? Since I'm so angry, you know what we're gonna do? Free like and subscribe. We're doing it. Free like and subscribe again. We're doing it again because I'm riled up. It's up to a 10 right now. 10. It's about to get to 12 real quick. Mother.
And cut.